Welcome back. And if you're just joining us, you are now on the political segment. I'm Ayo Adams.
And I am Oiza Adetola, Zainab Oiza Adetola. I'm excited to be back on the political segment.
Yes. And today we'll be discussing the impact of fake news and how it has affected post-election conversations and the ongoing tribunal proceedings. Zainab.
Yes.
Let's look at the impact of fake news, the effect that it has caused across the society globally and generally. It's generally stated that 40% of news posted on the media are fake. We have fact checkers in the house that will check us.
And we also have the fact that fake news often travels faster than what is the actual information. If you share something that is fake, it is likely to be shared 6 times faster than when you share the actual truth about the situation. I think people just like controversy. They just like to share things that align with theirs. I mean, we are quick to share without even thinking, is this true, is this false? Once you just agree or we like it, you've clicked the share button.
Click the share button. And to discuss that on the program today we have
Luis Ubede, who is a researcher and also a fact checker with Dubawa, an initiative of the Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development. Welcome on the show, Luis.
Thank you so much.
And we also have joining us on Zoom, Olasupo Abidin. He is the founder of Fact Check Elections, and they will join us to have the conversation this morning. Thank you for joining us, Olasupo Abidin.
All right.
Okay, while we wait for that, for him to join us, I think a bit of technical issues, but we can start the conversation with you this morning, Luis.
Okay.
And I'm a bit, I'm a bit interested in the general outlook of how fake news affected the election overall, pre, post, before, pre, during, and now post-election. What has been the recurring issue with fake news across the election period?
Okay, information disorder, which we generally call fake news, is something that's always been a part of our electoral process because politics in Nigeria is not just politics. We have our religion and ethnicity issues that come up. So before the election, you always see things like, oh, where is it from? Where's the candidate from? Their health status, their qualifications, what have they done before in the past? If they are previous governors, people begin to say, oh, they did this, they didn't do this. So those are the trends that we noticed before the election. And then the lead up to the election day, we begin to see people say, oh, this candidate stepped down for this candidate, or this candidate is no longer qualified to do this because of this, just to dissuade their followers or supporters from either going out on election day or changing their minds about who to vote. So this is something that is recurring in all our elections. So fake news, whatever you call it, misinformation, disinformation, it's always there. So that's why it's important to increase the public's understanding. We call it media literacy. When people know this is different forms of fake news, like we call it, they now know that, oh, I don't trust things easily. If I see something here, I could check for the source, or I could check other media platforms that are supposed to have this information and verify.
All right. Now, you talked about media literacy, and that's where I actually want to touch on very well, because for people like us in the media space and, journalism, broadcasting, we know where to go to when to find the source. But there's a lot of people, i.e. our parents, or the people in the rural areas, or just general Nigerians, who the peddlers have been, the peddlers know where to throw this information. True. Peddlers don't throw information in the space or in the midst of people who they know that, they will just weighing it off. Someone like me, if I see a news that I feel like I don't know the source, the first thing I just go, I know certain places to go to. Once I check and I don't see anything there, I'm by it. But some people, the moment you see it, they click, just like Zainab said, they click, they share. And once they share, that's, imagine sharing a fake news to a group of 500 people, in a WhatsApp group. So first thing is, what do fake news peddlers gain from this act? And two, media literacy. How much media literacy can be done for people how can people tell? You just mentioned that people should be able to tell the difference between what's a fake news and what's not. But these peddlers, and now they concoct big major headlines with viable read-ups, and you read these things and they sound so in line. Let's take COVID for instance. There's so much fake news that was spread across COVID. It caused major wide panic. People even died from fake news. So the media literacy part of it, how do you get that across the general public? How can people tell this is a fake content and this is not?
Okay, first of all, you talked about what do they stand to gain. So basically, they're just 3 things: either financial gain, political gain, or just to dissuade people from doing something or taking an action. That's basically what these peddlers are after. And for people, I think there's no there isn't anything like too much media literacy. Just keep informing people, keep telling them what to do. I think when people come to that understanding to know that if I see anything, even if I can't tell what it is, hesitate, do not just share. Because I think there's that urge to want to be the first to share breaking news or an issue, something about an issue. So always hesitate and then try to verify. There are tips, there are apps that people use to create these breaking news flags. They always have a tagline. So if you can pay attention to the details, you can tell that, oh, this is not genuine or not. And reach out to fact-checking organizations if you're not sure. They will help you verify.
All right, we'll come back to you, Luis. But now let's go to Olasupo Abidin, who is joining us on Zoom. And I really would like to know, for starters, how do we, or what has been the impact of what we call fake news, information disorder, misinformation, disinformation? What has been the impact on the post-election conversation in terms of the tribunal proceedings? What have we seen? How has it affected the proceedings, and what are we seeing on social media?
Yeah, thank you so much, Sainaban. It's exciting to be joining you, and I sincerely want to appreciate the researcher who has, laid a very solid background on issues around media literacy. And we're coming from the angle of the fact that as an organization as well, during COVID-19 as well, we started what we call No COVID-19 as well to counter misinformation and disinformation associated with fake news. And of course, I quite agree with her in terms of what people are going to gain. Is either you're gaining financially, or you want to take a political post, or you just want to satisfy your own personal sentiments or the sentiments of your principal or whoever. So as far as election is concerned in Nigeria, though many a times we all like to shy from the fact that to a large extent we are all political animal and we all have our own sentiments. That by the side as well, there are some that, what they have been using their own social media platform for is to peddle fake news. Let me bring it from the aspect of, they're talking about the fact that a member of the Election Petition Tribunal resigned, which was absolutely fake, to, saying former governor of Lagos State, Raji Fashola, was writing judgment, to, talking about the fact that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has set out a date for the delivering of the judgment. So one thing is common with all these array of fake news is that one, maybe they have trust issues, or two, they intentionally want to misinform the general public due to a sentiment bursting into them, because I cannot pinpoint categorically why an individual, an adult who knows A from B or the right from the wrong will sit down at one corner of his room, then at the beginning of the day, what he or she set out to do that day is to ensure he or she misinforms the general public. And of course, while on the other hand, I will blame that so-called influencers. I will also try to, throw a wind of caution to we as Nigerians as well. I don't need to necessarily be a fact checker or a journalist before I'm able to determine that this is a fake news or this is not. Like, for example, the first thing I do is to do a Google search of the news. Which news media agency are reporting it? Has it been picked up by some of those major news media? I quite agree. Is that might want to ask me that, have we not seen cases where, the major newspapers as well, the so-called major newspapers as well, are also peddling fake news? What I want to tell you is maybe 1 in 100. Many a times they hardly do that. And when they do that, I think they come with a errata and apologize. Even though, of course, that could have been avoided by doing a lot of background check before, peddling that kind of misinformation. So on the question again, it has really affected a lot, especially has affected Nigerians who ordinarily do not have maybe perhaps access to the internet. We have a lot of people in the grassroots or rural community that they could only act on hearsay that, fine. Like, for example, in the Yoruba, Agbogbon deliver judgment in September 26. What that means in English is, we just learned that the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal will be delivering judgment on September 26. They do not really have the tools or the resources to say, they want to fact check this. It's only what a person has heard that they are transferring up to others. So, and that's the reason why I always tell people fake news or bad news travels faster. Even though organizations like ours already debunked that, but how far can that go as well? How many people have access to our website or our social media pages? How many radio station will be able to pick that story from us? How many tank criers will be able to pass some of those misinformation corrected by our own platform to them as well? So it has really affected a lot of things. And that's the reason why, there are a lot of pressure on our judiciary as we speak now. A lot of misinformation that a lot of people have peddled has put a lot of pressure on the judiciary. And of course, let's be realistic. Fake news will not really make the judiciary to give a judgment in favor of any candidate. It will only give judgment based on the surrounding circumstances of what has been presented before them. So it has eaten deep into the fabric of our electoral system. And of course, it has affected a lot of things to the extent that I doubt if till date, some people still do believe that Fashola is still the one writing judgment. Some people still believe till date that even COVID-19 is not really real. Some people till date still believe that, of course, the judgment will be delivered on September 26th. So it has affected a lot of things. And of course, it's an indication that those who peddle fake news, it's another pandemic. Like, let me put it that way. Fake news is another pandemic on its own, because, you know, the ripple effects of what it has caused cannot even be estimated. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, you wanted to.
Yeah, Abidin, I just wanted to, first of all, let me commend you and Lois and your organizations for being able to, curb the spread of misinformation and fake news. But my question is this: first is, if you look across Nigeria, these things happen rampantly. As we're talking right now, just like you mentioned, somebody's on his computer concocting, fake information just to put out in the general public. And there are certain mediums of communication that you cannot nip in the bud, i.e. the WhatsApp groups. Now that we have more recently, the deep fakes. Just a couple of days ago, we had an Arise News reporter whose video was, deep faked and was edited, was doctored to say things that she didn't say. How do you tackle technological advancement in the spread of fake news? We've now seen the tribunal proceedings and the kind of chaos and the pressure it has brought on the judges and the tribunal, representatives. How do you curb? Back in school, my professor always said that network security is a cat and mouse game. The more you improve your network, the more the perpetrators improve.
The bad guys.
Yeah, the bad guys improve their mediums of of breaking down your walls. So now, your organizations are here to curb it, but technological advancement is here now. How do you stop that?
Thank you so much for that brilliant question as well. And I'm also happy to tell you that currently, before the end of September, we're working on an innovation where we want to be using artificial intelligence to, track fake news. But there's an impediment for us. Unavailability of required data in Nigeria is serving as a cog in the wheel of progress for us. Also, during the election, we are at a point in time, we talk with Meta to see how we can partner with them to, assist in addressing issues around misinformation that is happening on Instagram, on WhatsApp, and on Facebook. Unfortunately, we are still in talking terms, and that has not really been realized. So there was a particular fake news that trended. Okay, I don't want to call it fake news anyways. Apologies, please. There was a particular news story that trended during elections. Because, of course, we tried to dig a lot deeper into that conversation, but to date, if we are not able to find precisely the result of anything, we either not talk about it instead of us as a fact-checking organization as well, peddling fake news ourselves. So that is, people checking the fact checkers as well. So it was the audio of a popular pastor and one of the presidential candidates. We used different tools like the deepfake tools and some other resources, to fact-check that audio. But precisely, we couldn't get 100% perfection. So that's why, as far as our own ethics as an organization, we either keep silent about it or we go all out to say, oh, fine, we have been able to fact-check based on all available technologies, this is considered fake or this is considered true as well. So I kind of agree with you that the way we are creating, the way we are innovating, some are at the back end, trying to see how they can circumvent the process, trying to see how, they could have influence on some of those tools and resources for their own personal sentiments as well. So technology has come to stay, and it is why in our own organization now, as I speak with you again, we are working on different researches that will make it easier for fact checkers to be able to fact check. And as well, we are also working on that AI model technology. But like I told you, we are currently having limitations. But of course, there's no any innovation that you want to have that doesn't.
All right, we'll come back to Olasupo Abidin. In the meantime, Louis, he has said quite a lot about the problems, but let's now come to the solution, to what we need to do, not even as journalists, not as media persons this time, but people walking on the streets innocently with their phones, reading the stands, people in their houses watching, skits or scrolling on Facebook. What are the basic things they need to know about not falling victim of mis and disinformation? What are the things they need to know, or what they need to do to avoid being, victims of this information?
Okay, the first thing I would say is paying attention to the details. Like we like to say, the devil is in the detail. Because a lot of these apps that come up that you can create pictures, videos, and even breaking news always have a tagline to show that this was created with this app. So if you're patient enough to look at this image, you can tell this is not real. One other thing you can do, like he said, is do a simple Google reverse image search, or even just a search to see what's going on in the news. If something is actually happening in Nigeria, I'm sure most of the platforms will report it. So if it's not in the news, you should be suspicious that, oh, this is not true, or it didn't come from a genuine source. Another thing you can do is find the source. If, say, for example, you say AIT reported this, have you gone to AIT's website or even their YouTube page to see if it exists there? So find the source. And then when you can't find the source, triangulate with other platforms and see if they're reporting the same thing or the context is the same.
So in terms of that, as much as I agree with, being able to go around and, fact check and being able to, nip the bud of where this information comes from, my mind still, and the people who fall victim to the aftermath of fake news aren't even learned people. They're actually people in the rural areas who basically can't do what you just mentioned. A random person working with the current cost of living in Nigeria is not going to go on internet and tap on his phone and say, okay, I want to check AIT's website. Okay, let me go to the YouTube. Let me go here. Let me go there. I just want to know, is there any solution to that? Or is this something that we have to live with for the rest of our lives, that whether we like it or not, fake news will be here, and we just have to find a way to live with it?
Okay, one of the ways we've tried to do this is collaboration. We cannot fight it all alone. We have a fellowship, the Kwame Karikari Fellowship, and we have journalists from newspapers, TV, radio. So what we do with them when they leave the fellowship is to get them to translate our fact checks into audios in their local languages where they can air them, because people in the local communities are more on the radio to listen every day for their news. So they can summarize these fact checks and give them breakdown of the accurate information. I think that's one way we have tried to bridge that gap, because not everyone will go to your website to read what you have done. But when they are translated into local languages in their various stations, they can get this information.
Okay, so now riding on that, what have been the specific challenges you have had with that, and what do you think that we need to do better as a people, as media practitioners, as stakeholders, really? What do we need to do better? Okay,
I think one of the issues is getting people to chip in or give us rooms for the content we do on their shows, because we know there's a bureaucracy of getting space or time for your shows. Even for journalists who have their own show, it is hard getting them to allot time to those fact-check summaries. So I think it's for media organizations to be open and journalists to also be open and find creative ways to share their content, to share fact-check content.
All right. If Abidin is still here with us, we would like to also hear, the tips that he does have for Nigerians seeking to avoid fake news, and also what we need to do better as a people.
Very much as well for that question. So I think one of the major platforms where fake news easily travel faster is the WhatsApp platform. So we've got to be extremely careful about the kind of information we take on WhatsApp. And I quite discovered something from Nigerians. Any information that has to do with your sentiment, or that has to do with your political party, or that has to do with what exactly you want to hear, either it's real or genuine, you just want to take it hook, line, and sinker. So I think, of course, as an individual, ethically and professionally, we need to always do like a double check of the kind of information we share. Imagine in a group of over 200 people, a fake news was shared here. So from that 200 group, there's an average that, maybe the members in that group will belong to 4 other groups. The news spreads faster that way. So always try to double check. And one of the ways to which we can double check, you don't need every technology to, especially for images, to use Google reverse image. Just type on Google and upload the image on Google reverse image. Then exactly, you're going to be able to know where that image was firstly used as well. And of course, then I encourage digital journalism. Some of those mediums who do not really have names, that we just share the links to their story all around. Let's do like a double check before we start sharing the news of their platform. I kind of agree. A lot of people want to do, I'm the first to break the news and all those things. But in doing all those as well, we need to think deeply about the replica effect of fake news. As a result of fake news as well, it could lead to mental health issue. It could lead to depression. It could lead to, a lot of people engaging in an conflict. It could lead to even war. Cases of countries where, as a result of an information that is not genuine, it has led to a war that, the countries are still grappling with now. So I will advise Nigerians to always double check information, and also advise to the journalists as well. As journalists as well, a lot of people trust us as well. For our media platform on Twitter, on Facebook, on WhatsApp as well, let's know the kind of information that we are going to be pushing out. And of course,
Another way through which I think, of course, special thanks to AIT for, bringing up conversation like this, especially around the Election Petition Tribunal. One of the ways through which other media practitioners could partner with you or partner with organizations like ours and Dubawa as well is to see how they could integrate some of, this fact-checking issues into their next curriculum.
I think that's a fine place to leave it.
Yes, it is. Thank you so
for
much, Olasukwu Abidin, for those final notes. I mean, that's just a fine place to leave it and let it go. Thank you for joining us on the weekend show today and for educating us about fake news, myths, and this information.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much, Lois, too, for giving us your brilliant insight on this thing. Just before we round up, sometimes we talk about how fake news spread. Sometimes not even fake news, even videos. I remember uploading a video about, a Formula One something, and, generally people bought into it because, it was uploaded by me. But it was just a movie which gave stats about death, but it wasn't accurate. But,
okay, and that's your note to always be careful about what you share on your platforms. And it's a wrap on the weekend show for today.
Yes, it's a wrap on the weekend show for today, and we'll be joining you same time next week, 8 a.m., same time next week on the weekend show. Bye-bye for now. I'm Ayo Adams.
Zainab Adetola.
All right, bye for now.